IMs, the framework of McDonough and Shaw, and lastly is the different kinds of instructional material. Please keep on watching!
Before we proceed to the different discussion of the topics, I will be going to give the key terminologies being used. First is the frameworks. The basic structure of something is a set of the ideas or facts that provide support. Second is principles. A moral rule of belief that helps you know what is right and wrong and that influences your actions. Third is materials. A relating to or need of matter having a real importance are physical rather than a spiritual or intellectual.
The first topic is all about the kinds of principles in instructional materials. For that, what is instructional material? So instructional materials is a device that assists an instructor in teaching learning process. These are the materials used to aid in the transference of information from one to another. First principle is materials should achieve impact. It means that teachers should have attractive presentation and good content to attract learners and to target learners' needs. 2. Materials should help learners to feel at ease. It should be like that your illustrations that you will present should make the learners feel comfortable and relaxed for them to be easily to understand the topic. 3. Materials should help learners to develop confidence. The materials that you use should help learners to make successful things and push learners to develop their skills. 4. Materials should take into account that learners offer in learning style. The teacher should give variety of performance and activities to make learners to be active. Also, make your learners feel supported to their learning style. Number 5. Learners must be ready to acquire the point being taught, which means using this kind of materials to prepare learners to focus on the features of the target learners, where they haven't learned so that they will be attracted to learn these features. Number 6. Materials should take into account that learners are different in affective attitudes. The teacher must know first different backgrounds of the learners to provide different activities that can be used to be aware of the cultural sensitiveness of the target learners.
The different types of instructional materials. First, we have the textbook. It is the main reference for the entire course. It is usually chosen by the school and it contains readings, teaching points, drills, activities, and tasks for everyday lessons, and it arranged in units and chapters. The next is the teacher's book. It contains a detailed rationale for textbook. It explains the scope and sequence for the lessons, and it provides guidance in planning lessons for materials to suggested activities. The third one is the workbook. It provides exercises and drills and specific skills in listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and also with remedial activities to support lessons in the textbook. The fourth one is the work text. Combines the features of textbook and workbook. It provides teaching points like those in the textbook, and it has many drills and exercises too. And the fifth one is the multimedia instructional materials. It is an audio and visual materials accessible through various media like radio, television, and the computer. And lastly, the reference book provides general information in various topics. It includes encyclopedia, dictionary, atlas, manual, and each other.
So, the next topic is the framework of materials and methods. So, according to McDonough and Shaw, the framework reveals that materials and methods cannot be seen in isolation but are embedded within a broader professional context. So, these are the framework of McDonough and Shaw. So, the first one is the context. So, context, which comprises of learners and settings, can influence the goal that
every educational has. So the first one is the learners. So for the moment, we can list here the key characteristic of the learner, indicating how they might affect planning and noting that they form part of common frame of reference as a language teachers wherever we work. So some of these are characteristic of whole groups or subgroups of learners. So others are individual and less open to generalization. So learners factors, it's included age, interest, level of proficiency, aptitude, mother tongue, academic, and educational level, attitude in learning, motivation, reasons for learning, preferred learning styles, and personality. So, the next one is setting. That aspect of the context that we refer to as setting is to be understood there as the whole teaching and learning environment. In a wide sense, it is the factors falling under this heading that will determine whether the aims of a language program defined with reference to the learner's need and characteristic are actually feasible and realistic. So it's included the rule of English in the country, rule of English in the school, management and administration, sources available, support personnel, the number of pupils, time available for the program, physical environment, the socio-cultural environment, types of tests to be used, and procedures for monitoring and evaluating. So the next one is the implementation of the goals. And the next is the syllables constructions. And the last one is the materials classroom, and it's included the test.
So, the first factor that we need to consider in writing an instructional materials is understanding. It is very essential that the materials that we use are easy to comprehend by the students, because once the students have difficulties in understanding the materials you are using, they will feel frustrated and will often lead to become uninterested with the lesson.
Organizing the materials so that it is clear to the students. So as a teacher, you should make a plan on how you can impart knowledge to your students. So you should structure properly what will be the techniques that you will be using upon teaching.
So the third factor is sequencing. I think we are all familiar with the word sequencing, right? So what is sequencing? Sequencing means arranging things. But if we talk about sequencing in making an instructional materials, it refers to the flow of how you arrange the topic so that it is easy for the learners to learn and understand. So, for example, you first jump to the very complex topic without teaching them the very basic one. So from there is already chaos in students' understanding. That's why sequencing is one of the most effective ways to make instructional materials.
The fourth factor is balancing materials. It requires establishing vertical and horizontal relationship upon making the instructional materials. In writing instructional materials, you have to balance it horizontally and vertically. The horizontal relationship means you will write your instructional materials containing the overview or surface level of your topic, while vertical relationship means after making or showing them the overview of the topic, you must dig it deeper so that it will be balanced.
So the fifth factor is explaining. It is very important when you are teaching your students, because without explaining, students will be able to understand what your discussion is all about. For example, the materials you are using are textbook. Then through your clear explanation and proper discussion, students will have a better understanding on the content of the topic. And also in the textbooks.
So the sixth factor is pacing. refers to how much and how quickly the lessons in the textbooks are presented. It is the transition of the lesson wherein you need to proceed with your next lesson connecting to the lesson that you have presented or discussed to your students. But before shifting the lessons from easiest to complex one, you must observe your students if they really understand the topic and if the instructional materials that you are using is effective.
So the seventh factor is reviewing. It refers to recapping the previous discussions, then through instructional materials such as workbook. Students will be able to re-examine themselves if they really understand and learn with their past lessons.
The eighth factor is elaborating. Ensures that students learn better through a variety of ways. In this time, you need to elaborate or you need to introduce to your students the different techniques and strategies upon learning so that the students will find their strengths and weaknesses and you as a teacher will be able to know and be aware of what are the students' capabilities in learning. And the ninth factor and the last factor is the transfer of learning. It may be a concept related, inquiry related, learner or utilization related. In this time, you need to test your students if there is transfer of learning acquired. You need to know if the instructional materials that you are using and your strategies of teaching is effective. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate goal of the teacher is to impart knowledge to their students that they will be used in their lives. That's all.
So we forgot to make an outro video, that's why I'm recording it. So hope you learned something. Bye!